Elon Musk recently tweeted this meme suggesting that the US dollar is on the verge of a major devaluation. This is a warning that I think we certainly should heed, and you might also take note of the silver dollar in the meme as well. After all, silver is real money that can't be debased by the profligate spending and enormous debts often associated with fiat currency, and silver, of course, is also a critical industrial metal. It's used in a huge number of applications: solar panels, medicine, water purification, you name it. But there's another critical industrial metal that Elon Musk has warned us about, and that is nickel. According to the Tesla CEO, nickel supply is actually his biggest concern when it comes to scaling battery production. So much so that Musk actually asked miners to produce more of the stuff.
I actually spoke with the CEOs of the biggest mining companies in the world and said, please make more nickel. It's very important. And so I think they are going to make more nickel.
Now, why is he so concerned about nickel? Well, the average electric vehicle battery contains 29 kilograms of nickel, or about 64 pounds. That amount of nickel can really add up, especially for EVs with superior range that consume more nickel than average. Consider this research from Adamas Intelligence, which shows that if Tesla is to fulfill just the 1 million pre-orders it has received for its Cybertruck, building that one model alone will require more than 80,000 tons of nickel. Consider that the average nickel mine worldwide produces approximately 42,000 tons per year, and you can see why Elon might be sweating the supply situation. But why not the other components of the battery? Why has he singled out nickel? Well, did you know that the US imports 100% of the nickel that we use in industry? That's a pretty amazing statistic when you consider how much more of this stuff is going to be needed in the very near future. You see, nickel traditionally has been used primarily in the fabrication of stainless steel. In fact, right now, that use accounts for about 65% of global nickel consumption. But the amount of nickel that goes into batteries is on the rise, and in a big way. Right now, batteries only account for about 15% of nickel demand, but that is changing. To get an idea of how much nickel the world is going to need very soon, a report from S&P Global has forecast that U.S. energy transition-related demand for lithium, nickel, and cobalt will increase 23 times by the year 2035. Because of this and nickel's vulnerable supply chains, the U.S. Department of Energy has ranked nickel as one of the most critical energy metals when considering that agency's desired expansion of electrical energy. The Energy Act of 2020 defines a critical material as any non-fuel mineral, element, substance, or material that the Secretary of Energy determines has a high risk of supply chain disruption and serves an essential function in one or more energy technologies, including technologies that produce, transmit, store, and conserve energy. This ranking means that nickel is both of very high importance to energy and also carries with it a high risk of supply chain disruption. Part of the problem with nickel supply chains is that the vast majority of world nickel production is concentrated in Indonesia. This is a jurisdiction which is in many ways aligned with the Chinese sphere of influence, and it's also plagued by environmental and human rights issues. And in the era that we are living in of protectionism, deglobalization, and protective tariffs, this simply isn't a source of supply that manufacturers in the United States can rely on or should find desirable. Now, that might sound worrisome, but problems like this often contain within them the seed of opportunity. And the opportunity here is that geopolitically safe, reliable supplies of nickel stand to become very valuable from this situation. And I've teamed up with today's video sponsor, Alaska Energy Metals, ticker symbol AKEMF, to tell you about just such a resource. We're talking about Alaska Energy Metals Nikolai project. This is a project located in a Tier 1 resource-friendly jurisdiction. It's a jurisdiction ranked as the 4th best in the world for mining, and perhaps most importantly, this is a jurisdiction located within the United States. So the nickel is right here on U.S. soil. There's no supply chain worries. Sanctions and deglobalization won't be a factor. The jurisdiction is so good, in fact, that the Nikolai Project's two claims, the Eureka and the Canwell, are adjacent to the claim of cobalt mining. Cobalt mining uses AI to search for cobalt, nickel, and lithium, and its shareholders include Jack Ma, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Michael Bloomberg. And when you see billionaires taking a stake in a geographical region for mining, it's probably best to take note of that. There is a lot of nickel in this vicinity. In fact, right now at the Nikolai Project's Eureka site, Alaska Energy Metals has reported a resource, a deposit that contains 4.2 billion pounds of nickel in an inferred resource at 0.27% nickel equivalent and 3.9 billion pounds of nickel in the higher confidence indicated resource category at a higher grade of 0.29% nickel equivalent. It looks promising that the amount of nickel and other valuable critical metals contained in the deposit could expand with more exploratory drilling. Alaska Energy Metals seems quite undervalued at the moment, but there has been a recent uptick. Seems like investors are starting to catch on. Let's compare Alaska Energy Metals' valuation to its North American peers. For example, Canada Nickel. This is a company with just over 1.5 times the amount of nickel in the ground as Alaska Energy Metals, but when you look at the market capitalization of these two companies, Canada Nickel's is more than 10 times that of Alaska Energy Metals. So what accounts for this discrepancy in value? Well, there has been a big interest in nickel among battery makers and miners for obvious reasons. Samsung, Agnico Eagle, and Anglo American, huge companies seeking geopolitically safe supplies of nickel, have invested in Canada Nickel, driving the market cap and the share price much higher. Canada Nickel's project is more advanced, but Alaska Energy Metals seems on track to catch up. Alaska Energy Metals project and company should be an attractive target for a strategic investment from a major company, or even as a potential exit strategy for Alaska Energy Metals as well. Right now, the plan is to pursue aggressive exploration and drilling to prove the resource and potentially add discoveries of high-grade pods to the nickel resource. And when that happens, to draw the attention of big money to come in and develop this as a future mine. If and when that takes place, the market cap and the share price should be making moves, and the time to get exposure to an asset like this is before that happens. The share price is already on the uptick. Now, that might sound like a lot of ifs, and metal exploration companies are always a risky play, but with big risks comes the possibility of big rewards, and at the end of the day, given all of the factors, the global supply situation for nickel, the trend for dramatically higher demand, and the viability of the Nikolai Project nickel resource, this one is worth checking out. And at the end of the day, given all of the factors, the global supply situation for nickel, the trend for dramatically higher demand, and the viability of the Nikolai Project nickel resource, this one is worth checking out. Of course, don't go out and buy this stock just because you saw it here. Make sure to always do your own due diligence. A great place to start is by visiting alaskaenergymetals.com. That's it for today, everybody. Stay safe and happy stacking. I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker, out.